Let's get more now on our top story this afternoon. The pressure on the Prime Minister from within Conservative Party ranks to show some bulldog spirit at this week's Euro Summit. Well, I'm joined now by Nigel Farage, MEP, leader of the UK Independence Party. He's in our Brussels studio for us. A very good afternoon to you. The Prime Minister has said he will safeguard the City of London and that he will block any treaty that failed to protect British interests. I mean, that's the right way for him to proceed, wouldn't you agree?
Well, his policy on Europe keeps changing. Remember, it started off with a cast-iron guarantee on a referendum that was dropped. It then moved on to the repatriation of powers. That has now been dropped. And now we're told he's going to safeguard the City of London. This, the Prime Minister, that three-line whipped his own MEPs last October to transfer total control of the city to the Brussels institutions. So I don't really believe a word that he says.
Well, you say his policy on Europe keeps changing. I mean, the global situation, the global economy has changed a lot, so it would be normal to react to that. And given the situation at the moment, he has said that we have to bring the euro back from the precipice. That has to be the first priority at this stage in the game, doesn't it?
Well, it is quite normal, of course, for policies to change as events change, but what he has done is he's deliberately tried to make sure that the British people do not get a say and do not get a referendum on this. And as far as the Eurozone crisis is concerned, what he should be saying to the 17 Eurozone countries is, look, guys, you're headed down the wrong route. This thing is bound to fail and break up anyway. Wouldn't it be better to let countries like Greece and Portugal go back to their own currencies?
In terms of the referendum issue, though, they've legislated, I mean, it's quite clear, the situation that stands at the moment, that if further power is going to be ceded to Europe, there has to be a referendum. If not, surely it doesn't need to be put to the British people. And as he's saying today, they have to sort out the Eurozone problem, because to not do so would be catastrophic for the UK.
Well, it's a smoke and mirrors job, isn't it? We transfer powers to Brussels every single week. With every single EU directive or regulation that goes through, just a little bit more power moves from Westminster to Brussels. So, I mean, frankly, I just, again, do not believe him when he says that if there is a new treaty and he signs up to it, it is clear it will have implications for us and there should be a referendum. If there's not a referendum, then the implications are not just a split within the Conservative Party, but an increasing number of voters coming to UKIP, and the acid test of that will be the by-election next Thursday in Feltham and Heston.
He has said that he would block any treaty that failed to protect British interests. Do you believe that?
No, I don't believe anything he says, and frankly, I don't think being a member of a political union that now charge us a membership fee of 50 million quid a day and make 75% of our laws, are damaging our financial services industry, are even damaging the way we run the National Health Service. I don't believe being a member of this union is in Britain's interests anymore. But it doesn't matter what I think. What really matters is a vast majority of people in our country have been promised a referendum by all three parties, and now is the moment for Mr Cameron to come home and say the EU is about to fundamentally change. It's your choice.
Members of his own party, senior Conservatives, the London Mayor Boris Johnson, Northern Ireland Secretary today, saying that he thinks that referendum is now inevitable. Do you share that confidence?
I think in the end there is going to be a referendum on our relationship with the EU. The question is just how much damage will the question do this Prime Minister until he relents. At the moment, he is looking like a very weak leader. He is looking like somebody who gives in to the demands of Merkel, Sarkozy, Mr Van Rompuy and the others. His own party is splitting. Voters, if you look at the opinion polls, his own voters are coming in increasing numbers to UKIP. If he lets this go on too long without there being a referendum, it will wreck and destroy his government. He
is in a slightly difficult position, though, wouldn't you admit? I mean, given what Angela Merkel and Nicolas Sarkozy have been saying over the past few days, if they can't get the 27 member states to agree on a package, they'll go their own way with the 17 Eurozone members. That could be very tricky, couldn't it?
Look, what he should be saying to the 17 Eurozone members is, if you want to go off and commit democratic suicide, because that is what Van Rompuy's proposals add up to. If you want to go and do that, I wouldn't advise it, but I can't stop you from doing it. You know, it would be nice to see him actually showing some leadership. There are some dreadful things happening within the Eurozone. We've seen democratically elected governments removed in Greece and Italy, and yet all we hear from our Prime Minister and from our Chancellor are cheers of encouragement as democracy gets swept aside and the bureaucrats who've invented this failed policy of the euro take charge. I would like to see him standing up and saying that.
But if every member state did as you were saying and had a referendum on this, there'd be utter chaos, wouldn't there?
Well, if you think democracy is chaos, sorry, that's unfortunate. But look, nobody has actually consented across the whole of the EU to this thing turning into a technocratic, bureaucratic state where effectively general elections in the 17 Eurozone countries will become irrelevant if this devious package of measures put through by Mr Van Rompuy is passed at this summit. You know, there's some really big issues here, not just the short-term problems of the Eurozone, but actually the future of democracy in Europe. And Mr Cameron simply doesn't seem to care.
OK. Nigel Farage, thank you very much as always for your time.